earning 50 pesos a day. She was doing some laundry work, 50 pesos a day, 10 years ago. Had a little baby. Her husband was jobless. She was very, very poor. And she was going hungry. And then she met Jodine Sola, the ministry for the ministry for street kids. And Jodine started a micro-lending program. And he lent Helen 2,000 pesos. What's that to you and me? But to her, it meant the world. And she would repay that 31 pesos and 50 cents every day for the next 70 days. And she was able to pay it. And she borrowed again, a bigger amount. Today, Helen, 42 years old, has now a thriving business because of the micro-lending program of Jodine Sola. And Jodine created a bridge for the poor. And now Helen is helping him lend to more poor people around the area. Their collection rate, you know, in a bank, you know how many people default in their loans? Do you know how many? You know, it's very bad. Sometimes as big as 15%. People do not pay their loans. In Jodine's ministry of micro-lending, he has a repayment ratio of 100%. The poor people pay. They do. They do because he has a system. He has a wonderful system. Ryan is a young boy I met through Jodine's ministry. When Ryan was 14 years old, he was already living in the streets, sniffing rugby. Have you seen a street kid sniffing rugby behind his shirt? That's Ryan. And then because of Jodine and his ministry, Ryan today has learned to do welding, and he's now an assistant of Jodine for the street children. His life has changed. His life has changed. Why? Because Jodine created a bridge. Amen? And then I'm going to share with you another person. Her name is Helma. Helma was a young girl who wanted to take up college. She went to her father, and her father said, I can't afford. Helma had good grades in grade school and high school. And Helma wanted to study in UP. And in UP, the tuition fee was 6,000 pesos for one semester. And the father was a fish vendor. Not a stall, just a poor man selling fish from house to house. And he told Helma, his daughter, I cannot afford 6,000 pesos per semester. And she thought her dreams would forever be unfulfilled. Until one day, her father got to know Ray Ortega and his scholarship for poor children. Through Ray's ministry and bridge building, Helma was able to study in UP, finished cum laude. And Helma right now is a teacher in Poveda. And her life was changed because one person was able to build a bridge. Tell someone beside you, build a bridge. You've got to make that choice in your heart to live your life for something bigger, far bigger than anything else you've ever done before. Number 4, the last thing I'd like to share with you, the fourth way of helping the poor is to create enlightened businesses. Everybody say that. To become an entrepreneur and to do more for your employees than what's required by law. I met a woman in Boracay. She owned a small restaurant. And I was floored by what she said. She said she sends the children of all her workers to school, all the way to college. 24 of them. A small restaurant. But the owner had the heart of God. And when you have an owner, an entrepreneur who has the heart of God, you love the poor. And I'm going to challenge you, start businesses. And find a way to serve and love the poor in some way through your business. I've shared this story to you many, many times. I don't know how many times I've shared this already, but I'll share it with you again. I cannot give a talk on loving the poor without sharing you this story. Many years ago, I heard about a group of orphans, 8 kids. Their father died actually killed because the military killed him. And the wife, the mother, died as well because of sickness. I went up the mountains and I saw them living in a shack. The eldest girl, her name was Annalyn, 16 years old. Did not look 16, small, thin, frail. I asked her, how have you survived all these years? Oh, they were so thin, they were very, very, very poor. And Annalyn said she would wake up every morning, 4 in the morning, and she would get a bolo in her hand and she would cut slender trees into small pieces of wood. She will dig a hole in the ground. She will make charcoal through those pieces of wood, burn them. And then with her little brother in tow, she would hoist the sack over her shoulder. She will walk the mountain for 1 hour. And then after that, she will ride to a jeepney ride to the market, and then she will sell the charcoal for 50 bucks. 50 pesos for a whole day's work. She will buy food for her 8 siblings. She will cook. When she arrives to her house, at her house, she'd cook the 1 meal that they will eat for the entire day. They will only eat 1 meal a day. And then she had a wonderful story to tell me. Annalyn said, you know, Kuya Bo, you know what happened yesterday? I said, what happened? She said, I arrived home. I was going to cook for my siblings. I got the matchbox. I opened it, and I saw that there were 2 last matchsticks in the box. I held both of them in my hands, and I said, I better be careful. I need to start a fire, because if I will not be able to start a fire with these 2 matchsticks, I have no money to buy matches. Brothers and sisters, that's poverty. Some people here in Metro Manila or elsewhere, they tell me, I'm poor. You're not poor. Annalyn was poor. She had no money to buy matches. And as she was holding those 2 matchsticks, her neighbor knocks on the door. And the neighbor says, Annalyn, pahingi naman ng posporo. Can you give me matches? And Annalyn said her heart was torn because she was holding the last 2 matches in her hand. That was all she had. But she opened the door and she gave 1 matchstick. But when she closed the door, she fell on the floor, started weeping, and crying out to God and saying, Lord, iligtas mo kami. Save us. And then with tears in her eyes, I remember this so well, she looked at me and she said, Brother Bo, do you know what happened? And I said, what happened? God answered my prayer, because that happened yesterday. And now you're here. And I embraced all those kids. I took them home. I brought them to Anawim, and we lived together. I was their house father for 1 year until I passed them on to another house mother. I gave them a house. I sent them all to school. I gave them a new life. I share you that story because of 2 reasons. Number 1, Annalyn cried out to God, Lord, iligtas mo kami. Lord, save us. And God searched. Who will He send? Who will He send? He saw me. And God said, go. I became an answered prayer to someone's prayer. Amen? And you know what? Right now, there are many Annalyns around the world crying out to God, God, save me. And God is searching, looking for someone He will send to become an answered prayer to someone. You want to go? You want to be sent? Just say, Lord, send me. Just say that, and God will send you. Amen? You don't have to be rich. I want you to know something. Annalyn had 2 matchsticks in her hand. And this is my second message. 2 matchsticks in her hand. Somebody asked for 1. She gave it. In her poverty, she gave it. Do you have much more than 2 matchsticks in your hand? Share. Because you know that when you share, God will repay. Amen? Believe in that. You know, in my community, the Light of Jesus, in our community, we have a building, but it's very simple. And one day, I want to have a big, big hall like this. But believe me, it'll be very, very simple. Because we've long decided that 50%, that's our goal, 50% of all our collections and all that we get from tithing should go to the work of the poor. 50% to evangelism. 50% to evangelism. 50% to the work of the poor. We've made that decision a long time ago. That's our goal, that's our vision, and we'll continue to do that.